Hello and welcome to my webinar. This is called Harp Surgery. So this is a webinar that is a spin-off really from START HARP, because I'm going to be teaching you or talking to you today about one of the methods that's used in the START HARP program that I run online. I have an online harp school. My name is Shelley Fairplay. I have an online harp school which is called Start Harp, which exists in 3 different levels. There's a level 1 for complete beginners or people who are beginning again, people who maybe done a little bit of harp playing and stopped, or maybe haven't played very much at all and feel like they're beginning. A level 2, which is for people who are progressing from having just about learned to play hands together and reading treble and bass clef through to being sort of more fluent in their playing and being more confident in their playing. And then level 3, where we go through modulating and changing key and using our levers and pedals or whatever kind of harp you're on. So level 1 and 2 exist in C major, and level 3 actually goes into modulating into different keys. So why am I doing this? Why am I doing this live webinar? Well, I think it's really important that we all share our knowledge. It's what's so wonderful when we go to harp festivals and harp weekends or harp ensembles or anything where we get to gather together in a collective of harpists. It's really, so I think helpful to just hear somebody else's ideas. So even if you're really happy with what you're doing, or you've got a brilliant harp friend or brilliant teacher that you're working with, sometimes just being told something from a slightly different angle can really help us. I always find it really very helpful talking to other harpists. So that's why I like to do some free things from time to time. Together we are stronger. Great believer in that. The community is nice as well. So there are people here. I'm going to welcome those who have made it in live right now already. So we've got Caroline, Dillis, Donna, Jill, Janet, Michael, Rebecca, Susan, and many of us have worked together before. In fact, have you worked with me before? You can pop in the little message thing if you'd like to, whether we've worked together or not before. That would be nice. And so there's a community, an online community. So for some of us who are isolated, maybe living in isolated parts of the world where we can't travel to see other harpists, it's fun, isn't it, to be able to come together and to be able to sort of hear what other people are doing and other people's experiences and things. So that connecting is I think really, really wonderful as well. I'm also doing this webinar because my Start Harp online classes are just about to begin on the 22nd of September. So I'm kind of trying to raise awareness for that and get back into the swing of it. And it's just really nice to be connecting with people that I haven't worked with for a little while over the summer. So in this webinar, my big wish is to share with you an incredibly simple idea, and an idea that you're all going to be really familiar with already, but just slightly maybe turning it into something slightly more formal than perhaps you will have used before. So really, in its simplest form, it's just when you are learning a piece, you need to practice the bits of the piece that you can't play. And that's really obvious, okay, isn't it? It's really obvious. If you're going to learn a new piece of music and you get it out and you think, oh, this is brilliant, I'm really excited about this, oh, I can play that bit, that's wonderful, oh, that bar's a bit tricky, oh, but then I can play that bit. Sometimes it can be very tempting to sit down and enjoy playing all the bits that you can, and then you find you keep tripping up on that one bar or those 2 bars or whatever it might be, or that passage or that line or whatever it is. Or sometimes, you can be playing a piece and you have that dreaded page turn where you're going to turn the page and it's like, oh, there's that bit there. And so, when we are teaching ourselves or when we're working with a teacher, teachers will always say to you, well, that bar is the bar that you need to practice, and you can practice it like this. And we all know that. We all know that. And so it's the discipline, isn't it, of implementing that's perhaps our biggest challenge. I find it a challenge personally. Some of you will find, I do have some students that I teach that are, absolutely brilliant. And you say, right, okay, practice that bar 20 times and then try playing the whole line, and then practice the same bar 20 times, then play the whole line. And they'll go away and they'll do it, and they'll come back the next lesson and you can hear that that's exactly what they've done. But then you have other students. I remember very distinctly having one student who was aiming for her grade 8. She was really, really brilliant student, and I took a few months out from teaching when I was having a baby, and so I asked her to go for lessons with another teacher for a couple of months, and the other teacher said to me, and you'd written above the music, you put a little box around the notes that and different sections that she needed to practice, times 20. And I said, have you been doing that? And she said, no. And I was so dismayed because, you do know that as a teacher, you don't always ask a student that, but sometimes it's really obvious. And I am the same. You know, it can be really hard to discipline yourself in that way. So, you know, the simple idea of, you know, if something's hard, that's the bit you need to practice. And we just need to find a way to help ourselves, to encourage ourselves to be really disciplined to do that. And I kind of have developed a little way through Start Harp, which I'm sure isn't an unusual way at all, but just a way of sharing exercises that are linked to the piece, kind of breaking down a piece, which is why I'm called this Harp Surgery. You're kind of cutting out little bits of the piece, and then having it separate so that you can really, really just focus on that piece. So there really is no shortcut. There's a little blurb that I always put into my Start Harp courses just before I do share the everyday exercises with the piece. And basically I say, you know, there's really is no shortcut when we're learning to perform or play a piece. If we want to play it with flow and with ease and with grace and with confidence, you know, playing something through over and over again isn't going to help us get there. And so really sitting down and being able to play, practicing slowly, practicing with concentration in a really engaged fashion is going to be the way that's going to allow you to play beautifully. And my second harp teacher, Valerie Aldrich-Smith, thank you for this, always said to me, slow means fast. And I hated it when she said that to me. Sorry, Val. I did, but you knew that. And she'd say, slow means fast. And I'd be like, oh, but I don't want to practice slowly. I want to play this really flashy bit really fast and enjoy myself. But then I'd crash and make it go wrong. And it took me years to really appreciate what she was saying, which is, you know, if you learn something slowly in detail, then actually playing it faster is easy once you can play it in a really, really confident manner, slowly. You're only then shortening the gaps between the notes, aren't you, to do it? And you will get there faster if you practice slowly and practice really focused in a really focused manner. You will always get there faster. You will be able to play the piece really nicely faster than you would if you just played it through lots and lots of times. So before I go on, I'm going to just quickly share a few of the things that have come in from everybody who is here live, for those of you listening back on the replay, and those of you that can't see all the messages. So lots of people saying hello. We've got Dillis, who's from Vancouver. It's lunchtime there. We've got Caroline, lovely to see you again, Caroline. It's 9 a.m. in Hawaii. Susan, who's in Boston. I think you're about 5 hours behind then, aren't you? Brilliant. Oh, okay. And apparently I've disabled public chat. That's fine. I think I'll read them out. Donna, thank you for letting me know, though. And Rebecca, you're in Canada as well, I believe, aren't you? And fantastic. So, and someone else is in New York as well, upstate New York, and it's 3:06, hopefully in the afternoon, not in the morning there. So we've got quite a variety of people from around the world, and I know there's some people from Wales in there too. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to play to you now the little piece that I'm going to perform harp surgery on. And this is a piece that I wrote some years ago in a place called Kinkham. So it's familiar to some of you because it is in Start Harp level 3. But hopefully these ideas and the way that I'm going to talk about it will still be useful for you for moving forwards. And I'm going to talk about a few other things too. But I think it would be nice for you to hear the piece before we start. So. And there's a second section which I actually haven't shared with you in this handout, but I can play it for you now so you can hear it. So there we are. I forgot I'd only put half the music in the handout, so I made up the second half for you. But that gives you an idea of the piece. So that's called At Kinkum, and it is in E flat major, the version I've given you. Now, in general, Start Harp courses all run in C major, and all my immersions. The reason that you've got this piece is because it's just got some slightly more technical things in it, and I just wanted to use it for this particular webinar. Oh dear, and apparently for Donna, the audio and the video became choppy as soon as I started playing. I wonder if it got some overwhelm on the sound or something. It shouldn't be like that on the replay, Donna, so hopefully you'll be able to catch it without on the replay. Fantastic. Okay, so basically this really simple idea is just the idea of, as I say, taking the bit that's difficult and then practicing the bit that's difficult. But I thought I'd share with you, before we go into that, a couple of pieces that I've found on my shelf where I have done that, because this is a system that I use a lot when I'm learning pieces. So this is the Benjamin Britten Ceremony of Carols, which is a beautiful piece that Britten wrote for harp and choir. And the whole book is the piece. So the Harpist is, I'm sure many of you know this, and if you don't, go listen to it, although it is Christmas music. It's all for harp and choir. This is just the harp score as I'm going through it. So the whole book, whoops, not that bit. The whole book is the score, is the music. So it goes on for quite a long time. And some of it, as you can see, is got quite a lot going on in it, although actually that page isn't so bad. And so it's a long piece. And every time I'm asked to play this, it's a beautiful piece. It comes around every Christmas. I think, oh gosh, look at this loads of notes to learn for this, piece that, you play maybe twice a year if you're lucky. And so in the end, a while ago, I made myself a cheat sheet. So instead of sitting down and practicing the whole piece, because obviously if I played it before, I've learned it anyway, but you do forget, don't you? But even if I hadn't, I'd have done this. This I actually did the first time I did it. This is just 3 pages. This is the whole piece put into 3 pages, the 3 pages that I found difficult. So it's all the bits where the pedal changes perhaps were challenging. It doesn't matter if you can't see it, by the way. I'm just sort of waving at you so you can have a little vague idea. I'll show you one page now up close. So basically, I've taken 1 bar, or sometimes, there is just 1 bar that I've taken. Here above it is a line of music where it's very chromatic. You can see that. Here is the ending, because it has to be so bright and vibrant. I wanted to make sure that I always want to make sure that bit's good. And I don't know really what else. There's a little bit here where the hands are going in opposite directions. Basically, these are just like 1 to 5 bars that I've cut. I've literally photocopied the piece, which is legal if it's for practice purposes, and then I've cut out the bars that I found tricky. I put the pedal setting beforehand, or the lever setting. If it was a lever harp, I would put the lever setting, so I knew the key. And then it just means I can be really focused with my practice. And then each of those segments or motifs or sections, whatever they are, I can then go, okay, I need to practice those. It's exhausting practicing like this, and fair enough, to be fair, sorry, because you're going in and you're doing the things that you're finding the most challenging. There's no respite. But what it means is that if you're trying to learn something and you want to learn it, you're playing it for a friend next week or whatever it might, or you just really want to learn something, then you know that if you sit down and do it in this way, that within a week you're going to really see results. Whereas if I sat down and just played my way through this book every time I sat down, then the hard bits probably wouldn't get any better and the easier bits would stay as they were. So there's one, and I'll just show you one other. Just again, I hope this is interesting. I think this is it. I'm pretty sure when I've shown students, they found in person. This is the Planet Suites, which you may know, for orchestra. Again, it goes on forever and has some really quite challenging bits, and it's 41 pages long, so it's a lot of pages. And again, I played it a few times and thought, hang on a minute, I'm spending hours working on this. So I created again, I took that 41 pages down and turned it into 4 pages by, again, choosing those bits that were really, really challenging. And I think it was through sort of doing that a lot that I really wanted to share that with my students. And as I mentioned, somehow the dishearteningness when you feel like you've really said to a student, there's a grade 1 piece, which some of you may know in the UK, a grade 1 piece called Barn Dance Memory, which just goes dum 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 bom ching ching. I won't change key for actually. It's truly simple because it's a beginner's piece, but it's beautiful and sweet and lovely, and lots of people do it. But the last bar of each line is harder than the rest of it, and so as a teacher, you know, and as an examiner, I'm sure, I'm not an examiner, but if you know, I'm sure that they find this, that people can usually play all of it beautifully apart from these 4 bars. And really, you know, I think if I was teaching a grade 1 student tomorrow, I'd probably give them those 4 bars first now on their own and say, right, let's learn those, as well as doing something fun and, you know, to obviously make sure that they were enjoying their harp lesson as well. But if it was for an exam, I think I would literally approach it that way now. I would give them the 4 tricky bars so they'd learn it, and then they can go, oh, I can do the rest of it. So let's have a look now at this. So at this piece then. So if you've got the handout, you'll be able to look at it directly yourself. And if not, then I'll share it with you on a screen share in a moment. So let's do that now. So I'm going to share my screen. Before I do, those of you who are here live, I'm just interested to know how many of you have worked with me before. So could you let me know? You can say yes or no. If you've worked with me before, give me a yes. And if you haven't, give me a no, just so that I know. I'm not sure whether everyone here has already worked with me, in which case then I'm preaching to the converted, I know. But let's have a go. And if you have worked with me, here's another one. So for those of you here live, if you have worked with me, have you found using the everyday exercises useful? If you've used everyday exercises with me, I would love to hear from you for that as well. That would be really interesting. So hopefully, can you see my screen share now? So I'm sharing my entire screen. Can you just see music, or can you see my desktop, or can you see the music and me? Just double checking. So brilliant. So let's have a look at the responses while you're just going to let me know whether what you can see on my screen as well. That would be really helpful. So lots of you are saying yes. Kate, yes. Caroline, yes. Donna has been to another webinar. Brilliant. Jill, yes. Dillis, no, I haven't worked with you. I missed the last webinars. I got the time wrong. Dillis, it may well have been something to do with me. So you know, I hope you got the replay anyway. And Rebecca says, yes, happy to work with you. Yay, I'm happy you worked with me too, Rebecca. And the exercises, everyday exercises are brilliant. Yes, so I know Rebecca is an everyday exercise convert. Donna says you can see both. Thank you. Brilliant. Jill says you can see music. Brilliant. Music and just smaller, lots of stuff at the top. Okay, brilliant. Perfect. Hello, Shelley, Janet. And yes, I worked with you in level 2. Can see screen and you. Yes, the everyday exercises were my favorite. Brilliant, Susan. You're hopefully selling this now. Good. Screen share's okay. Brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, super duper. So let's have a look at this then. So really, when I'm just going to pull up then the piece I just played to you. So I've only shared with you the first page of At Kinkham. And what I would say is that the section marked A, which is bars 1 to 8, work as a piece in their own right if you loop them and play it sort of 2 or 3 times and then play a code or an arpeggio or something at the end. So don't feel sad that I haven't given you the rest. You can make it into a piece as it is. The everyday exercises that I'm going to show you are here as well, and we'll look at those in a minute and look at where they've come from. So here it is. Here's that beginning bit that we looked at. We just heard. So if we think of those first 3 bars there, or first 2 bars with the upbeat going into it, I'm not going to go into depth on keys and all sorts of things tonight because I'm literally just wanting to talk about making these exercises and why I think they work. If you want to do more of the other stuff, then we can connect another time, another way. So I look at those first 3 bars and I think, well, okay, from here, if you can see my mouse circling, I'm not sure whether you can, perhaps someone can let me know. It just goes B, C, B, 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 B. Fantastic, thank you, Kate. So that bit there, I'd look at that and I think, well, pretty much anybody who can already play hands together is going to find going 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2 easy. Obviously, then there's the rhythm to master, which obviously can be challenging in itself, but I'm going to bear with me for a moment on that. But the first few bars has quite an unusual little pattern, because if we sight read that, I'm curious if anyone agrees with me. I think the first thing you'd want to do is you'd see the G there, you'd see 3 notes going down, and you put 1, 2, 3 down, wouldn't you? I think, and my gut instinct would be to go. So I go 1, 2, 3, and then I go, oh no, I've run out of fingers, and hop and go 3, 1. if I wanted to practice this in a really solid, focused way that is going to make me really strong at placing and securing what I'm doing, my preferred fingering would be, and I know that fingering, again, you know, globally we all differ. Like, well, I say globally. If I went to knocked on the next harp teacher's door in Cardiff, and believe me, there are lots of harp teachers in Cardiff, we'd probably come up with like 5 different ways of fingering this. But I do think this is a good way of fingering this. It feels slightly uncomfortable to start with, but once you get this idea of 2, 3, 4, 3, 1 on that first phrase, it's really solid. You barely have to move to do it. Okay, so which is why on the everyday exercises I've written it here. Okay, so if I was doing an ordinary lesson with somebody and they brought me a piece and I hadn't seen it before or anything like that, what I might do is I might put a little circle around these notes and say write by it times 10. But as I mentioned before, I used to find with my students that they wouldn't really do it or they'd do it maybe in 1 practice out of 10 or something like that, because it's not so much fun to sit and go, is it? It's not the most fun thing in the world to do. But I assure you that if you do that over and over as a loop practice is the way that I would describe it. If you loop your practice, you will find that it will sink in a different part of your mind somehow and become so solid, whereas just sight reading through and maybe using a different fingering each time or something like that doesn't seem to go in the same way. There's an example I'd like to share with you, and which I know means I'm digressing, but I just think this I think of a lot, and I've never told my brother this. So Timothy Fairplay, if you're watching this is a thank you to you. So my brother, when I was a little girl learning the harp, I used to sit in the corner of the room in our house, and I used to get my pieces that I was doing maybe for an exam or maybe for a concert, and I'd sit and I'd practice them, and I'd think, you know, I'm very diligently going through my piece and I'm practicing it from start to finish, and maybe going back and trying a corner if it went wrong, or doing that thing we do, which is to stop and go back and blah. Anyway, it's another one of my pet hates these days. But anyway, I used to do that, and I thought I was doing very good, doing very proper practice. My brother used to run around the house being very cool, sorry Tim, with his electric guitar, and he'd be practicing a riff over and over again that he copied off a CD, or, you know, well, actually back in that day it was probably, yeah, it probably was a tape, to be honest, showing my age now, he'd go over and over this like same like tiny snippet of music again and again and again, and he'd do it. I really better not go any further than that, but you know, he'd be practicing like how he was going to do it on stage as well, so, or with his bands and things, because all of those things are really important. And I spent the next like 15 years of my life going through my musical education only to be spat out the other side and to realize that his way of practicing was the way I should have been practicing all along. Because actually, you know, practicing in this way that, you know, where you're doing that same thing over and over again, that is the way you get truly good at something, and it truly goes inside to you. And yeah, so that is the way we should all practice. And I kind of feel like it like took me all these years to work out something that he, as a teenage boy in his bedroom, worked out for himself. So clever Timothy Fairplay, who is travels the world with his music now. So that's really cool. So anyway, so he really did work it out very well. So anyway, back to these exercises. So here we go. We've got what I'm showing you now is I'm circling again the mouse over this little tiny snippet, which is the openings at Kinkham. It's not necessarily going to be the opening that I use for an exercise. It just happens that I think this bit's fiddly. So if you've got your harp there, it is a play along webinar. You can have a little go. I'll count you in. We're going to start on 6 and go 6 and 1 and 2 and 3. I'd love you to try that with me. If you haven't got your harp with you, that's fine. But I'm going to go 1. I'll give 4 and 5 and then we'll come in. Just playing those first 5 notes. 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and the other thing that's important is that I've drawn the brackets here. So when you hit the 4th finger, I'd love you to follow these brackets. And if you haven't done this before in your playing, then this is something that's really powerful in harp playing, is to learn to play. So what I'm showing you with the brackets is that the 3, and for those of you that do know, it's always good to remind ourselves, isn't it? These 3 fingers written 2, 3 and 4 under the bracket means we put them all on before we play a single note. So we're not going to go 2, 3, 4. We're going to go 2, 3, 4. They're going to be on before we play. When we hit that 4, I'd love you to put 3 and 1 on. Now, I know some of you are quite established players already here, but would you agree that even though that's quite a simple straightforward little segment, a snippet of music, that's still a little bit challenging, I think, to start with. Would you agree? I mean, I think so, from having seen people learn it and perhaps from having put in the fingering myself. I'd just like to know. And that's why, and this is the reason I think it's a good thing to take out. So then you'll see that what I've done is I haven't then just given you the same thing over and over. You could do this over and over. What I've actually done is I've brought the thing up by one note. So you're practicing the snippet, and this happens in exercise books, doesn't it, where it's just exercises. You often find that there'll be an exercise that will go like, or something. And the reason that this is good is because it allows us to go into muscle memory rather than thinking of these of, right, I'm playing a G and an F and an E and a G and an E. I'm going to be playing this shape, 3 notes in a row, then I'm going to place and I'm going to have a third above and a sixth above. So if any of you have already learned this piece, I challenge you to try this with your eyes shut. If this is the first time you've looked at these exercises, then obviously I would let yourself have your eyes open. But the power of learning then to do this with your eyes shut means that you're sinking this in, you're taking away from being visual and looking at the notes and you know, and cognitive, and for you like going G, F, E, you're taking it into being 3 notes in a row, going down. So you're physically, you're listening to it, and your physical, the sensory, the feeling of it, that's not the right word, is it? The touch of it, sorry, the muscle memory of it will start to go in. And I think this is why this works so well. So shall we try these exercises as a run together? Shall I count you in? We won't do. We might have time for all of them. Let's give it a go. I don't want to bore you to death. I do appreciate this subject's not the most exciting subject, but as I say, I really think it's important we share things that work, and I do feel this works. And Susan and Rebecca both said it was. I think no, Susan said it was your favourite thing from doing the online Start Harp courses, which is I'm so happy to hear. I hope you've taken it away and been able to use it in other pieces. Rebecca, I know, has shared, in fact, in the Start Harp Closed Facebook group, you've shared that you've done exercises for other pieces you've learned. So you've clearly, hopefully, found it really beneficial too. So anyway, let's just try it. Let's go for it. Let's try this together. And if it's easy for you, close your eyes, okay? And if it's really easy, even with your eyes shut, then double it with your hands. Okay, so you're doing hands together, an octave lower. This is also a really powerful thing, isn't it? That I talk about in Start Harp, is that, you know, if you're learning a difficult snippet, I realize I'm talking faster and faster. I get very excited doing these webinars. I apologize. Okay, so if you're going to do these if you're doing something, you know, you've taken out, doing something with your left hand, particularly if it's fiddly. Often our left hand is slightly weaker than the right. Not for everybody, but I suspect some of you here at least will feel that your left hand is not your strongest hand. Then there's 2 benefits. One is that I think it does some weird left-right brain thing for you, and so it just helps you learn it again in another place, in another way. And then it also, I don't know, it seems that each hand seems to teach one another, and so it again just seems to help. But also you have this added benefit that you're helping your left hand be more nimble. So there we are, eyes closed, hands together if it's easy peasy, and if not, let's do what's written. So I'm going to count you in 4 and 5 and da-da-dum. Okay, so here we go. 4 and 5 and G, F, E, placing G and E, and 4 and 5 and 6, and we're going to carry on, and 2 and 3, find the B, 4 and placing them, 6 and joining up, placing, and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3. Now if you're feeling really, really virtuous, you could carry on going up your harp. And the other thing that the everyday exercise idea, and it's the same idea as to say that we're taught world over by every teacher, really, find a hard bar, practice it more. But you know, if you're doing it like this, it does really just give your brain that space, hopefully, to think of your technique too. And we'll talk about technique a little bit more now while we look at the next exercise. So I'm just curious to see what you guys have shared. Those of you here live, what are you thinking, what are you experiencing while I'm talking about this? Kate, I see your message. Rebecca says, eyes closed with both hands and one hand a third higher is so great challenge and sounds so pretty. Rebecca, I admire your ways of challenging yourself. That's really clever. So Rebecca, I think, is trying it going something like that. I've done that wrong. Maybe that would be it, wouldn't it? To get the harmony in, so she's doing them a third or a sixth apart or a tenth apart, whatever it works for you on your harp. So you could try that. So yeah, it all helps you put this into a different place in your brain. Another thing that can really help, and I'm sure I've made some of you do this. I think Jill is here, who I know from my harp ensemble. Jill, are you still here with us? Sorry to single you out, Jill. Yes, Jill is here. Hello. And Jill, I'm pretty sure I've at least asked the harp ensemble to do this. If you swap shoulders and try and play the same exercise now with the harp on the other shoulder, be very careful with your back. Think about your central, your spine being nice and relaxed and everything else being relaxed. But just try it. It will feel so peculiar, but that seems to send it into a different part of our brain. I'm pretty sure it was Eleanor Turner, who I first heard talking about trying to do that. It does again seem to send something deeper into our brain. So if you're getting bored of something or it feels too easy, switch the shoulder on your harp. I'm not suggesting you perform like this, but or do it for long, but just it does seem to help you. Because I sometimes find if I'm doing something that's like that maybe I'm finding simple, but it's still something I need to work on because I'm tripping on it sometimes, then I find that doing these tricks to myself helps me keep my focus, and sometimes focus is the biggest challenge of all. Okay, Dilly says it's all about the placing ahead of time in order to build up speed, I think. Yes, absolutely. And that is like the placing ahead is so fundamental to being able to play with beautiful flow and things. So by isolating these little snippets where it might be more challenging, it gives you, again, it just invites us to have this space, this moment in time where we can really think about our technique and our placing. So with that in mind, let's have a look at the next example. So you can see my music, can't you? Yeah. Okay, so the next example I've given, I think, is the dum da dum dum dum. Is that right? Yeah, dum da dum. Let's have a look. C D D ding. So it's this one. So and I've suggested in the music that you do 2 1 2 3 turn 1 2. So we're looking now at this bar here, which is bar 4. Okay, where I'm circling, and with a turn it actually. So okay. So it's got a turn in it, and now you could do it with a jump, and it does kind of work, but it's one of those things where you might find that you slip and do the wrong note. But if you can add in a turn as well, it will help you be more secure. So doing 2 and then 1 2 3 down for your grace notes, and when you're playing the 3, you're turning so that you can put 1 and 2 down. You can kind of get this nice sort of spring in your step over onto the G. Until I haven't done that for a while. Lovely. Okay, so you just give that a go on your own if you like. Now, if that was in the music, I'd be so tempted to go, do you know what, I'll just go back a little bit. I'll go from here. And I then would be practicing this whole line, whereas if I just take out that tiny bit that is tricky, because the jump in the placing, for the placing and the turn, and the fact you want it to be light, you don't want to go, you want that B to be the loudest note, you want to really hear C, B, G, F, and the D, C are just these little tickles, aren't they, that you're hearing over the top. So, yeah, again, I just find it helps me to be disciplined. So if we go back to the exercises, and again, you could do these for yourself, and I do recommend it, and I know some people do. Some of my students definitely do this because they find it works, and you wouldn't do it all the time, just when you're finding something hard or you're short of time. But here we go. So exercise 2, it's the same idea that we've just done in the exercise 1. There's the first one, but the second time I've moved it. We're going down this time. So that we're going down 1 note at a time. And now we're starting on the G this time. Slightly unusual sounding, I know. And again, if that's easy for you, then you can double with your hands. But really, that's sort of almost not the point, because what I'm really looking for is you to create space and time to think about your technique. And so thinking about technique, we always need reminding this, I think, I do. I really do. I learned to play the harp without any technique at all, and I went to university playing my harp like this, and I spent the rest of my life trying to train myself out of it, which is probably why I talk about it so much, because I just don't want anyone else to do the same. And then actually I've learned to play the electric harp, where you have to have your hand up half the time in the bass to damp, but that's a whole nother story. So anyway, with these exercises, when we've got this time, we want to practice them slowly and give ourselves space. You can remind yourself of your placing, which one of the late, I think, who is it live just mentioned this about placing. Dillis, yes, Dillis has just mentioned it's all about placing ahead of time in order to build up speed. Absolutely. And so what this allows you to do is to really think about your placing, which is one big part of harp technique, placing ahead, but also how you're holding your hands. So really thinking about thumbs up, fingers down, nice relaxed posture, thinking about bending from the second joint, thinking about squeezing your fingers into your hand, taking a bow with a thumb when you play, having nice relaxed arms, keeping yourself sort of smooth, and really imagining just being as relaxed as possible, using as little effort for the greatest reward. I used to joke a lot about being a lazy harpist. You want to use as little effort for the greatest reward, but really it's efficient. We came up with efficient in the end, didn't we? So you want to be as efficient as possible, but that is, it really should allow you, these special exercises should allow you time for that. So looking at this number 5, bar 5, exercise 2, should we play it together? So again, I challenge you to think of all the things I just talked about. Thumbs up, fingers down, nice posture, relaxed, using minimal effort for greatest reward, light on your little grace notes, on your ba-dum, tum, pop-a-dom. I often use the word pop-a-dom for grace notes, because you get popper, which is quite a light sound, popper, dom. Then you get the loud, strong, the note. So you've got the C on its own, and you've got a popper dom. You want the B out of those 3 little notes with these little 2 grace notes here. You want the dom to be the loud one. So we're going to go dum ta da tum ta tum. Now the brackets aren't drawn on this exercise because there was already a lot going on here. But what I'd like you to do with this one is join 2 to the 1. And then 1, 2, 3, and then when you get to the 3, you're turning, and when we turn, we always join, don't we, anyway, and doing 1, 2 together. Okay. If placing isn't something you're familiar with, let's connect again to talk about that, because it is so fundamental. Okay, here we go then. From bar 5, I will count you in. 1 and 2. Sorry, I'll give you 4 and 5 and 6. Otherwise, you'll be waiting for ages. 4 and 5 and 6 and 1. 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, brings the B, 6 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, sorry, and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and that. Brilliant. I love it when I do a crash like that when I'm trying to teach you about nice placing, but it's me embracing imperfect completion to share with you some ideas that I think work. So apologies for that. Brilliant. Okay then. So I noticed somebody just put a question in who's here live. So I'm just going to head back to the list for a moment. Donna, I had to step out for a moment and missed how you finger the trill and still get the 2, 3 where it's indicated to be. Donna, hopefully you've now seen that anyway with me exampling it. So we're going 2 and 1 and all 3 down. And what I should have said, Donna, of course, is that you can watch this on the replay as well. So you will be able to catch that on the replay. Brilliant. Okay, so that was the second snippet then that I'd taken out of the piece. Then I'd look along. So we found that one. We thought that was a good snippet there. This all looks quite straightforward. This da 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 dum da dum. Now this bit here, that's basically what we did at the beginning. So whilst that is still a little bit awkward, you've done that in the everyday exercise 1. Then we've just done this bit as the everyday exercise 2. Now this bit here, that's very similar. We jump into 2 actually there, aren't we? But that's again very similar to the everyday exercise. It's still getting you to do this 2, 3, 4 placing. So you've already then practiced that in this one exercise. You've got 4 things have been cut, 3 bits have been covered now. And then you go on to this bit here. Now the rhythm of this bit is a little bit challenging perhaps. You've got a tie for starters. So you've got a 6 and 1 and then that's a tie, so we don't play the second note, do we? And then you've got that one coming in on beat 3 there, but you've also got to come off the harp. That's what that comma means. And sometimes people use a V, a little V, or a tick, to show that you come off the harp, and then you're placing then 1, 2, 3, 4 to come down there. So that little bit is a little bit challenging. So again, it's something that I would pick out for a certain level of students. I'm generalizing here, this is, I know, but hopefully it kind of makes sense. So you've got this rhythm, and then you've got this hop. So you're doing semiquavers of the tie, 1 and 2 and 3, and then you're placing 1, 2, 3, 4, so that you can go dum dee da dum, which is fine. But the important thing there is to place them, because again, if you were sight reading this and you didn't spend any time thinking about it in depth, I would probably think 2, 1, 2, and then turn there, which is fine. But actually, because you've got the tie, you've got more time to jump after the E than you have after the B. So it kind of makes sense to come down 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can do that as the exercise then. So, and this exercise, again, you could just go round and round on the same notes, and that would be fine. But I've chosen to bring it up. And why? We talked about this, because if you bring something up or down, you're putting it into your kind of audible, the way you're hearing it, like thinking about it, the pitch going down and up, and your muscle memory of how it physically feels, and you're pulling it away from being, oh, well, that's the bit in the piece that does that. And I have found, and I believe my students have found, that this does really work. So should we do this exercise together? I'm not sure whether playing along is helpful or not, but we'll just do it because it'll take a moment. So let's have a go from exercise 9, following the brackets. 2 and 1 go down. The second E you don't play because it's a tie. You jump and you place 1, 2, 3, and 4. I am going quite fast today, and this is a level 3 piece, so in some ways I'm going fast, in some ways I'm going slow. So if it's too fast for you, then remember you can slow it down in your own time. And if it's too slow for you, remember doubling, closing eyes, all those things. So here we go then. 4, we're going to go up, we're going to do the whole line, starting from bar 9, exercise 3, semi-quavers and tie. 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Down the C. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and brilliant. Now, the last 2 examples or exercises relate to the left hand. So in this piece, I've kept this left hand quite simple. Now, when I played it to you and when I play it, I do other things sometimes in the left hand, other chords and things, but mostly they're 1, 5, 8 chords. So you'll see this chord here. Now, if you play on a lap harp, there is a lap harp edition. And further down the handout that only goes down to C below middle C. So it works on like a 17-string harp. And remember, if you only have a C-tuned instrument, I can email you this in C major. I've already sent it to one lady, to Donna, I think, haven't I? So if anybody needs a C edition, just let me know. Okay, and so yeah, so looking at these left-hand things, I've basically just put a few of them there. I think we only use 3 chords in this first section anyway. Yes, we do. So we're going to practice those just because it's very straightforward. Once you get the idea, particularly as the chords are written above in the exercises and in the actual music, and that allows you to embellish and add to them if you want to, if you are that way inclined. But if you don't want to, you can play what's written. And by 1, 5, 8, just for those of you who haven't worked with me before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm literally referring to the fact that you've got the 1 at the bottom. If you think of where you've put your 4th finger, I should say, on the E in this first chord, that's note 1, and then you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next finger up is on the 5th above, and then you count 6, 7, 8, and your thumb is landing on the 8 above. And again, you would place all of these in one go. And this is simple for a lot of you, I'm sure. So really think deep, really think, am I relaxed? Is my arm as relaxed as it can be? Am I only squeezing under the finger I need? Can I feel the shape? Can I play this with my eyes closed? Have I got my thumb up high? Are my fingers nice and relaxed into my hand? Am I avoiding bunny ears? All those things, okay? And then you can play this exercise, okay? And I'll count you in. And for those of you, if this feels a bit of a challenge, then remember you can take it slow in your own time, but I encourage you to memorize the shape of it. The 1-5-8 shape comes up again and again in harp music. And the thing I haven't said, in fact, I'll say it in a minute about these. So yeah, I'll save that for a moment. But yeah, let's do this. Let's do this exercise. So 4, and starting on that E flat chord. 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and down to B flat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and brilliant. Apologies if that was a little fast. Okay, and the final thing that I've then picked out as an everyday exercise from this A section to share with you is this bit here, bar 5 and 6. You've got these chords. Now this about epitomizes something that I think every harpist needs to know in their soul, which is how to play a root position, a first inversion, a second inversion chord, play them at sight, and not even have to think how to do it. And if you honestly, you can get to that point with a little bit of effort. And so these exercises are great, whether you learn this piece or not, whether you think anything else the rest of this webinar. If you don't know your inversions yet, please just take exercise 4 and eat it into your soul, and you will find playing other things easier too. So there are 3 main shapes that you can find for a normal triad chord. And here they are. That's root position, first inversion, second inversion. Not going to go into this in depth because there were like half-hour videos in Start Harp about this, which many of you have sat through and hopefully found useful. But these shapes, yeah. So one of them is like the triad with the octave on top. That first one, that C major root position, and so you get a play one, miss one, play one, miss one, play one chord, which is the normal triad, and then the thumb on the octave. So that a big gap occurs, a 4-note gap. If you count the strings that you start and finish on, a four-string gap occurs at the top of the chord. When you're playing first inversion, that big gap happens in the middle, and when you're playing a second inversion chord, the big gap happens at the bottom. Okay, so and then it's intervals of thirds for the rest of the shapes. I really can't go into this in depth now, can I? And I so want to, so I'm just going to have to be quiet and just say these go into this if you haven't already, and I'm sure you will have. Okay, so so the 3 that you need for this piece are this C minor change. So you're doing a C minor root, a C minor first, and then you're doing an A flat second inversion. Now I'm showing you with my right hand so you can visually see on the screen, but these are played in the left hand. So for you guys, can you practice them in your left hand? And that's going to help you then with the piece. So you can do that. Just do that in your own time for now. Now with this particular one, I've actually left it in the same key. Can you see for this everyday exercise? The reason I chose to do that was purely because this is well, I sort of think, well, it would be good to do it in different places on the harp. Of course it would, but because you've got to do this is quite a challenging little pattern to do, because they're 4-note chords in the left, and it's, you have to really concentrate not to buzz and things. So I just wanted to kind of hammer home that those were the important ones. And I would really think with all these exercises, there's a repeat line at the end of each line, and you do those lines as many times as you can. So I did jump down up to 5 and up to 4. Apologies for that being confusing. I don't know why I did that. I just did. Okay, so what I'd like to say now, so we've looked at those, and that all refers to the A section. There is a B section, but it really doesn't matter that I haven't shared all of it, but because there wouldn't be time in this webinar. But you can play the section A if you do it twice through or 3 times through. You could even play it up the octave higher. You could play it down low once, up high once, and then back down low, and then at the end do an A flat chord to finish off, and it would sound like a really sweet piece. So hopefully you can enjoy it if you didn't know it already. But what I want to say about these everyday exercises is this. Every time you go to a piece, if rather than just thinking, okay, there's a couple of tricky bars, I'm going to practice them several times, if you formalize it a bit more, if you compare to, and it's the discipline of it that's hard. But remember, I think in life in general, anything that's really hard is usually the thing that is the most rewarding in our lives. For me, certainly, anything I've done that I found really difficult, or really like challenging, or emotionally difficult, or physically difficult, or performing difficult, the harder it is, the more rewarding it sort of tends to be. So yeah, if you think of it like that, I think it's going to be harder, but it's going to be more rewarding overall and more useful overall. But what I'd say is that when you're doing these snippets, take a look at the examples we've just done. we've just particularly starting from the bottom up. In exercise 5, we've done these 1-5-8 shapes. Now these 1-5-8 shapes come up again and again and again in music. So if you took those out, if those weren't familiar to you, some of them it will be, and some of you not so much. If you can do those with your eyes shut already, and you can be told play that on an F and do it without any problem, then great. If not, work on them, because the next time you come to a piece with them in, they won't be an everyday exercise for you. They won't be a snippet because you just know them by heart. These exercise 4, now many of us know these a bit, but perhaps not as well as we could. These inversion shapes. Learn these inversion shapes, and when you then see this shape, for instance, the first inversion shape in a piece of music next time, it doesn't necessarily even matter if you don't engage with it as a C minor first inversion. If you engage with it as that shape that I can place with my eyes shut and land on the harp. Did I do it? Yes, I did for you. If you can think of it like that, then what does that liberate you from? It liberates you from reading every note. You're not having to go, I'm playing, okay, I've got to play an E and then a G and then a C and then an E. You've already performed your harp surgery. You've already learned that little bit, that little snippet, that knowledge is in your toolkit now, your toolbox, sorry, of things you can already do. So they will empower you to play more easily next time, and really deeply, as opposed to just learning them in situ in a piece of music where it's a thing that you do when you're playing that with the right hand, you play that with the left hand, and it's da da da, it's that bit of the tune. Doing it this way really will help you accelerate your learning for the next time in a much deeper way. The exercise 3, what have we practiced there? Well, we've practiced doing a jump and landing with a group of 4 notes. Well, okay, we do that perhaps quite a lot, but it is a jump that you will have learned to do. You'll have learned to jump from a thumb on a fourth above where it's landing. So the thumb's there and you're jumping a fourth down. So you've already learned that. So next time you see that jump in a piece of music, you'll find it much easier. And somehow this way, doing it like this as an exercise, it will go in like that, and you will reap the reward again. And the next time you learn something like it, the grace note, same thing. This bit, same thing. This 2, 3, 4 fingering, I have people gripe about with me a lot for things. But once you get used to doing it, it's so much easier than doing hops and so much more secure. So once you've done it for this piece, next time, it really, really, really helps you in the future. Really, really does. So I've quite exhausted myself with excitement talking about all that. So let's just come back to the big screen now to see you guys. And if I'm going to stop screen share now. Lots of you have done this before. Some of you have never done this before, and some of you will have kind of done something like it ish. I just would love to know, for those of you here live, has anything jumped out to you that you've gone, oh, okay, that's that, I'm going to try that, or oh wow, if I learned to do that, I see why that would help, or anything, just something, any aha moments. Has anybody had an aha moment? I'm probably going to have a stony silence now from everyone, but have you had an aha moment? I'd love it if you shared it. I really would love to hear from you. So while you're doing that, I'm just gonna, I'm excited to share that. And while I remember, I better tell you this piece is in my Harp Revelry Book 1 piece, which exists in Lap Harp edition, and it has lots of pieces in it. I can't remember how many anymore. 12 solos. So it exists for lap harp and it exists for pedal and Celtic harp. And the thing about it is that in it, if you liked this method, I do this method, so you get the exercises on one page and then the piece on the next bit. Donna says fingerings aren't written in stone. No, that's true. So if that's an aha moment, that's great. So yeah, sometimes you go to a teacher or you go to a book and there's fingering written in, you might absolutely detest it for some reason. And what I always say when I'm teaching, like I am now, that the reason that I would like people to do it for this particular piece in that way is purely because I feel like with the everyday exercise idea, I'm teaching you not this piece of music, I am teaching you that skill that will be used in the next piece that you do, rather than just teaching you a piece with a bit of fingering in. Because it's great to learn a piece of music with some set fingering, brilliant. But what's better to learn something that unlocks a door to every time you see a set of notes in that order. To me, that's like so much more worth it. And then you're using minimal effort for the best reward, because you're using these ideas that will help you as you move forwards in your playing. But yes, of course, techniques. Sorry, how it's like the how many harpists it takes to change a light bulb sort of idea, isn't it? There will, if you give a harpist a piece of music, 10 harpists a piece of music to put fingering in, you'll get 10 different types of fingering written in, mostly, unless they've all learned from one teacher. Quite often these ideas will be passed down to teacher. But yeah, those of you who are in Start Harp programs, the reason I do like you to follow the fingering is just for the reason I've said, but always question and always look for alternatives. Even for me, I won't mind. Okay, and I'm going to read out in a minute the aha moments. I'm really excited to hear what they are. But I am going to just promote a little bit to you now, guys. I hope you don't mind. Really, it's just to tell you that I am running Start Harp online live programs starting on the 22nd of September, and I'm really excited about it because actually I took a term out when I had a baby, and so I can't wait to get back to it because I've really missed teaching everyone. So I know that there are some people that have joined up that are new and some people that have joined up that have already done previous levels. So I'm really excited to reconnect with you. If you are interested, there is a 48-hour discount code I'm rerunning again this weekend, where you can have £50 off the full courses, which you just use SH, so Start Harp, SH50, SH50 gives you £50 off the full courses. They run for 12 weeks and we work on improvising, playing by ear, reading music, technique, and we build a community, which has been my favourite and most surprising element of Start Harp. And I'm proud of the fact that I don't just teach you to read music, I don't just teach you to play by ear, I don't just teach you to improvise, I don't just teach you that technique is the be all and end all. I love that it's this all-rounded approach that I never had time to teach when I was doing one-to-one half-hour or 60-minute lessons. You get kind of a couple of hours videos a week, and then we have live Q&As, and it just gives us that extra time. And I still can't get over Start Harp, and it's sort of like a life's work that I'm so happy that it's working for people. I'm so thrilled. And there are people around the world who couldn't find teachers because of their sort of extreme situations, and I'm so glad you've unlocked the door for those people. And if you aren't sure and you just want to try working with me on a little tiny snippet of time, I do have short courses called IMMERSIONS, which are kind of about an hour and a half of content. We look at one piece and we do a bit of playing by ear and a bit of improvising and talk about a special technique each time. And there's a £10 discount code of my most recent one, again with SH10. And I can send you the links for those when I send out the replay. What else? What did I want to say? Yeah, if you've enjoyed tonight's webinar, Deborah Henson-Conn is actually running a webinar tomorrow night. And so if you're interested, go and check out her page. She's on hipharp.com. I will put the link in here, www.hipharp.com. She's an incredible communicator as well as world famous electric harpist. So she's a brilliant teacher. I've been so inspired to have taken her courses and to have worked alongside her. So if you've never worked with Deborah, then please check out her free webinar tomorrow. And let's have a quick peek at these comments. So what were the aha moments from those of you who are live? I'm about to wrap up. But let's have a look. So I hope there's a few of you have shared. If you haven't shared something, you can just share something completely random instead. That's fine. I just want to hear from everyone. So this is, thank you so much. I'm going to do a cut and paste method for the hard bits of all my pieces. That was fabulous. Looking forward to spending time putting the hands together at Kingdom. Amazing. So yeah, I mean, I showed you my books at the beginning, didn't I? I'm so glad, Dilys, that that's helpful for you. Kate says techniques are transferable. Absolutely. That's a really good aha moment too. Donna says, I've always practiced in snippets. Perfect. Donna, you are like the dream student. Honestly, it can be, some people get it and love it. And other students, it can be like one of these things where you're just kind of like, it would be a great idea. It would be a great idea. It would be a great idea. But you are gifted, Donna, to be like that. Congratulations to you. So Donna says, I've always practiced in snippets, if only because I can't really sight read. So everything is a snippet. Brilliant. Okay. That's a really good point too. Okay, and also by learning like that, you are teaching yourself to read at sight eventually over time, aren't you? Rebecca says, I love having the exercises separate rather than marking them up in the main score. Photocopying and cutting and pasting works great, yes. But I try to stay digital when possible. Yes, absolutely. I don't know why I didn't mention that. For some reason, I like working in hard copies, Rebecca, and I forget that other people prefer digital. So you're very good idea. So I may try screenshotting and cropping to the sections I need to practice. That's a brilliant idea. Dom says, congratulations. And Practice and over for muscle memory. Practice slow for fast. Brilliant. Well, there's some brilliant aha moments there. And I haven't heard from everyone. I'd love to hear from the rest of you. And if you haven't had an aha moment, then fair enough. But there we are. And I'd just like to thank you all again very much for coming. I hope you've enjoyed seeing Harp Surgery, where we've looked at a piece and we've shown you how that I might cut it up. And I've shown you how I've performed Harp Surgery on the Planet Suite and the Benjamin Britten Ceremony of Carols, haven't I? So it's a method that I use without the key changing and without the going up the steps and down the steps in that one. But when I've now gone over to using it online, I found that changing the positioning of the notes, so it's going into spatial and physical and hearing, also away from the actual piece, also is really, really helpful. I'd love to work with you online and start Harp. Fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone who's here live. I'm just going to say thank you to those of you here live. Thank you. You've all stayed for the whole time as well, so I really appreciate that. Although someone has just gone this second, I think. Caroline, thank you for coming. Dilys, thank you for coming. Donna, thank you for coming. Jill, thank you for coming. Janet, thank you for coming. Karen, thank you for coming. Kate, thank you for coming. Michael, thank you for coming. Rebecca, thank you for coming. And Rebecca, thank you for a round of applause. That is deeply appreciated. So I'm just going to say, just read out these last few things. There's a few thank yous coming in. Thank you very much. And what I will do now is I will stop the recording, and I'll leave the chat window open just for a moment. So if anybody has missed any links or anything, let me know. But for now, over and out. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And happy harping all. Enjoy and spread the word and share. Bye-bye.